Hi, this is Margaret from Margaret's Crafts. I thought I wanted to show you. I want. I wanted to show you how that I colored this little one's outfit. The colors that I'm going to use are going to be RV91, RV93, and RV95, and then I'm going to use C1 because I want her little skirt to be white. So I'm going to start off with my lightest color, which is the RV91. And I don't really color in circles. I just kind of like flick mine. And then what I'm going to do first is I'm going to color my whole object because this is the lightest it's going to be. I may leave a little space where when I go over it for the last time, that space will be the lightest. Her head is kind of tilted up, so I'm going to say that my light is coming from this direction. So anything on this side over here is going to be the lightest, and going out this side is going to be the darkest. But you're going to have to take into effect her arms are going to cast a shadow. The little lamb she's holding is casting a shadow. And then the reason I'm using the C1 is because her dress and her little slip, the dress is casting a shadow on her little slip. So I'm just going to start down by laying down my lightest color. And I always have a trouble because I'm always wanting to color this lamb. Then I have to go in and try to fix it. So then under her arm, I know this is going to be all dark. Maybe the little tip may be a little lighter. Right up under here, it's going to be all colored. And then since my light is coming in from the side, I know this area down here, underneath her arm and underneath the lamb where it's open, that's probably going to be my lightest color. And then maybe a little lighter right in the middle. But right there on the edge, you got to remember, you're trying to make a rounded object. So the sides are always going to be a little bit darker. Remember, this is just me teaching me and watching other videos. I'm not Copic certified. I'm just doing it on my own. The next color I like to use after I put the lightest color as a base coat down, I go to my darkest color now and put just a small amount of my darkest for my shading. And I'm going to be using RV95. Now I know right here by my little sheep is going to be my darkest, going to be coming out. She has like a ruffle where her top has a little bodice. So that's going to be a ruffle, and I think that the ruffle is going to cause it to be darker there. Plus, it's up. She's holding a sheep up against her, so this light is going to be blocked. And then what I see is her sleeve is puffed out, so it's going to make a little bit of a shadow up into this area right here, right next to her body. Okay, and then as the light goes out, see around here it's going to be lighter. It's going to have a little bit of dark, and then it's the sun is coming out on this side. So this is going to be more dark over this side. And then also the way that this sleeve is made, it's a little bit of a puffy sleeve. So right down below here is where it's going to catch some shadow. And then also where the lamb is blocking it, it's going to be some more shadow there. Now, I just do this as I'm talking, as I'm talking myself through it when I'm doing it. Underneath her arm is going to cause a shadow. The lamb's leg is going to cause a shadow. And then being that it's a corner, I always put a little bit of shadow there and on the bottom. Now I can always go back in and add more color. I can't take it away that easily. So I can put less now and go back in and add. Underneath her hand is going to be shadowed. Underneath the sheep's belly and by his legs are all going to be a shadow. And this is going to cause, I'm thinking he's a little bit, you know, it's going to cause a little bit more of a shadow here. And then I always seem to put like a little line from the roundness of the object to give it like a 3D effect, and then the bottom of it. And I always put it down a little bit more because that's the direction it's coming from. And also up here on her top, remember her head is leaning, so it's giving a little bit of a shadow there too. Now next I'll take my medium color, which is going to be the RV93, and I'm going to lay some color right next to the other color. I'm going to lay that color down, leaving a highlighted color there. On the little areas that are so small, I don't leave a highlight area. Even though this is shadowed behind everything, I'm thinking that a little bit of this may be catching some of the sun or the light source. So I'm bringing it in that side, and then I'm going out wider on this side and then taking up some of the bottom. Now, after I got my where I think everything wants to be, and if I look and that looks okay to me, then I'll go in and I'll kind of blend this line in. You can blend it in with circles. You can blend it in by feathering it into the darker area a little bit more. I prefer the feathering. I don't know why. I don't really do the circles in the area, and it seems it works for me. I mean, whatever works for you. And I'll bring this and feather this into the darker area. I'll feather it out into the darker area. Now I'll come back in with my real light that I started with and just add just a tiny bit, and then feather that out into the next lighter area. And if you see it, I'm giving myself a highlight there. And just feather it all out. Then I'll kind of blend it in a little bit to make sure everything blends in. But I'm still keeping my 3 different colors. Then I'll go back in with my darkest, because with feathering it, the one color out to the other color, it seems like it takes some of my highlight away. And I'll just go back in and lightly put my highlight right back in there. Now that I know where I want everything to be, and I'm going to do this one area at a time, then I'm going to take my medium color and work that down to just leaving my lightest highlighted spot. And I'll do the same with all of my areas. Put all of my highlights that I want back in, and then go and feather it back out. And I'll keep working like this, very lightly touching. Until I get a color that I like. A lot of times I won't go back over it again with the real lighter color because I want to leave that highlight in there. Sometimes I'll just take that very dark edge and just put it back in, a very thin line of it that I don't want to feather out. But I'm putting it in ever so lightly. Sometimes I just kind of like dab it to dab it out if I want to bring it out just a little bit more. Now if you're wondering why I didn't do up around her neckline, I really don't need to do that because I'm going to use my, I think they're called Spica markers by Copic, and I like to add just the shimmering around her neck. And I'm going to do the same thing over here, just a really light line to add my contrasting back in, my highlighting or my shading. And I just want to bring that out just a little bit more. Follow his contours. Because he's the one, the little lamb is what's causing all of the shadow in this. I'm going to work my medium color on down a little bit further too. Just leave my little highlight. And I'm going to do the same thing with this other little edge over here, because I know this is the darkest. Just add it right back in. Then kind of blend it together. Leaving just a small highlight on this area because she is mainly blocked. Then if I think I want to blend this little area in a little bit more, I can just go around it to blend it in a little bit more. And I think I want to make this up here just a little bit darker because her head is shading this. Her head and her neck, her hair are all giving that some shadowing over here. And bring it all back down in to blend it all. I always blend it all back in when I'm done adding more color. Even though the sleeve is on this side and the lamb is causing some shadow to it, it's still getting hit by a little bit of light. Now for her little dress here, okay, a little cleanup to do on this side. I'm going to have to turn it around. For me, especially with the darker colors, as soon as I push it back, I want to dry it. As soon as I push it back, I like to take my embossing gun and push it right back in. Dry it instantly. And I just keep doing that, and it takes them out. You wouldn't believe how well. Now, because I want to keep her little skirt, her little slip white, but white still has a little color. So especially when it's being shadowed by something, I'm putting my little gray in, just the C1, just the thin line up underneath it to catch the shadowing. And then over here, it's a little bit more shadowed, so you can come down further on this side. Now for her socks. I do the socks a little bit different. I'll go ahead and start with my darker color. And what I do is around the top, because you know it's going to be a shadow from her dress, I do a little strip around the top. And then I go in from the sides, just a little out. And then around the shoe. I do that on both sides. And if you see where there's a longer line coming in, like where there's a fold on her sock, I'll just take a straight line out with that. I'll do this on both sides. And since I said the sun is coming from this side, I'm going to do less on this sock over here on this side and more to this sock in the middle, because the way her feet are turned in and between her legs, I always think that there's a little shadow between the legs. And then I'll take my medium color and bring it in just a little bit more. And then I go lightly over top of that real white piece with my lightest color. Then I'll take my darkest, and I want to just do a little bit more of the little highlighting or shadowing effect with it. And just barely dabbing it like to soften the edges.